Thank you, Chairman Rogers. Thank you to our ranking members. Welcome, Acting Attorney General. I want to speak about justice for the Epstein victims and survivors. And I'm going to begin with the closing words of Virginia Roberts Giuffre in her book. It's literally the last paragraph. She writes, "I hope for a world in which predators are punished, not protected. Victims are treated with compassion, not shamed, and powerful people face the same consequences as anyone else. I yearn, too, for a world in which the perpetrators face more shame than their victims do, and where anyone who's been trafficked can confront their abusers when they are ready, no matter how much time has passed. We don't live in this world yet. I mean, seriously, where are those videotapes the FBI confiscated from Epstein's houses? And why haven't they led to prosecution of any more abusers?" That's from Virginia. It was printed, as you know, posthumously after her death. Mr. Blanche, you and I had a chance a couple of weeks ago at the Department of Justice to speak about these cases. We discussed three things in connection with this monstrous, decades-long crime spree. Number one, your failure to fully redact survivor information. Number two, your failure to follow the law and release the remaining files. And number three, your refusal to prosecute anybody else. Mr. Blanche, let's continue that inane conversation, but this time it's public. This time, and more importantly, it's under oath. You're speaking to Congress. So let's get into it. When will you comply with the law and release all of the files?
As I said to you when we spoke before, we have complied with the law. We have reviewed.
There are 3 million more documents, and you know what you said to me? They're all duplicative, and they include another guy named Epstein.
No, I didn't
Nobody's
say that.
buying. That's
I did
what you
not
said.
say that.
That's what you said.
So look,
Reclaiming my
can
time.
I answer? Can I answer the question?
You may not. I
Okay.
just gave you the answer you gave me.
Telling.
No, actually, it's my time, Mr. Chairman. I think those are the rules of this committee. I told him the answer he gave me, and now in public he's trying to say something else. Please stop the clock. Can I get that time back? May I have 20 seconds back, Mr. Chairman? Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Mr. Blanche.
You don't want me to answer the question.
Mr. Blanche, as you know, I visited DOJ 3 times for as much as 10 hours, and I'll be going back. Does the Epstein File Transparency Act say that the files should be available to members of Congress with a minder at DOJ, where you're in a secure room, you can't write on any of the binders, you can take your own notes? Is that what the Transparency Act says?
It doesn't require we allow you to come to DOJ at all. We did that on our own.
What does it say in terms of transparency? It says that they should be made publicly available.
And they
Am
were.
Am I correct?
And
Publicly
they were.
available.
And they were.
Oh, well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon. And I'd actually like to get 20 seconds back. How do I get cut off 2 minutes into this?
2 minutes and 10 seconds left.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman. What rules are we operating under? Because he's under a little bit of heat for not prosecuting anyone in these monstrous crimes? I've been in the room. I have been there. This is what I had to do, to transcribe, to show what is true. What is true is that the president has lied about being on Epstein's plane, and the unredacted files prove that. There's a lot in here. I'm shocked at this. There's also this set of files in the file. This is investigation into the potential co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. I almost used up all the blank ink in the hallway because it's all covered up. It's all covered up. The American people are not stupid. They know that when members of Congress have to go in and actually unredact to try to find the truth for these victims, something is corrupt. Something is corrosive. You were paid $10 million to represent the president. You hang a 30-foot banner of the president's menacing face over the entrance to the Department of Justice. You said that if you were terminated or not moved forward as Attorney General, you would say to the president, "I love you, sir." So I have one question for you. Is your obligation to the victims and survivors of Epstein's heinous crimes and all his perpetrators, or is your first obligation to the President of the United States?
So without a doubt, we want to bring justice to every victim.
When will you bring that justice?
Can I please finish?
Excuse me.
Can I
It's
finish?
been decades. When will
Can
you
I
bring?
finish?
When will you bring the justice?
So as I was saying,
When will you prosecute?
Oh,
And who will you prosecute?
can I
Please allow
speak?
the witness to answer.
You told me in our
So I'll tell
conversation, you
so
blamed the victim.
Every victim
Let the record
of Mr.
reflect, he
Epstein,
told me
of-
that the
of-
victims didn't give good names.
let me be crystal clear, that this Department of Justice will always protect victims and will always prosecute anybody we can, okay? Full stop, no ifs, ands, or buts, okay? What you are showing in a game of showmanship are redactions because of victims, because that prosecution memorandum
Perpetrators.
talks about, excuse me?
Perpetrators, too.
How do you know that? Go ahead.
Talk to the
Exactly.
victims.
So
Talk to the victims.
they're victims' names, which we are required to redact, required by law to redact, which we did. Okay? So I take
Mr.
umbrage
Chairman,
to
I
the
realize
idea.
I'm over time. I thank you for that indulgence. I want to ask for unanimous consent to enter records onto the record. May I do that now?
Without objection.
Thank you. The
Time of
first,
the gentlelady has expired. Mr. Alford,
I would like to enter these records. May I please list what they are, sir?
you've had your chance. Mr. Alford,
You're denying me the chance to list what these records are?
Mr. Alford,
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Attorney General, would you like to respond to any of these allegations?
Well, look, I think that the idea that this Department of Justice does not stand up to victims and does not do everything we can, stand up for victims rather, do everything we can to prosecute anybody who harms our most vulnerable, ignores the facts. We will always protect victims. We have said from the beginning, anybody, whether it's their lawyer, whether it's a victim who wants to meet with the FBI or who has information, they don't have to come in. They can use their lawyers. They can use nonprofit groups. I've spoken to nonprofit groups. My leadership team has spoken to nonprofit groups and victims. When we released the Epstein files earlier this year, I spent the whole weekend on the phone with many of Epstein's victims' lawyers, and Director Patel has said the same thing. And so I will say again, if there is a lawyer or a victim who has information, please come forward. And it doesn't mean coming forward to a congressman's office. It means coming forward to the FBI. And if there's nervousness or if there's something that it's a difficult thing to do, we will work with you. That's what we do. That's what the FBI does. And that's what we've said for months and months, and it remains as true today as it was the first time we said it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the ranking member, I did want to follow up on Ranking Member Meng's questions about Binance, which frankly looks to me like a blatant pay-for-pardon scheme. So let me walk through some of the facts that lead me to that conclusion. In late 2023, Binance and CEO Zhao agreed to pay a penalty of $4.36 billion. A U.S. judge approved the guilty plea for multiple federal crimes and a civil settlement for anti-money laundering and sanctions, and that was in 2023. Donald Trump is elected president in November 2024. December 2024, Mr. Zhao and Mr. Witkoff meet in Abu Dhabi at a Bitcoin conference. In March of 2025, a couple months later, you're confirmed as Deputy Attorney General. March 25th, 2025, World Liberty Financial announced that it would launch a stablecoin called USD1. World Liberty Financial is a family-owned business by the Trump family. Two of his sons are in it, and Mr. Witkoff's got interest in it as well. 1 month later, in April 2025, Binance's founder, Mr. Zhao, was sentenced to federal prison for money laundering and other federal crimes that included funding to terrorist groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. On May 1, World Liberty Financial announces that an Emirati company called MGX, that also has ties to Mr. Witkoff, would use $2 billion on the stablecoin I just mentioned, USD1, to invest in Binance. This gave President Trump and his family a revenue stream that could be worth tens of millions of dollars. According to the Wall Street Journal, Binance took steps that catapulted the Trump's family's ventures into stablecoin product, enhancing its credibility and pushing its market capitalization up from $127 million to over $2.1 billion. Now, on May 5th, Mr. Zhao publicly stated that he had applied for a presidential pardon for the crimes that he'd previously pled guilty to and had been sentenced to jail for, and the restitution amount of $4.3 billion plus was put in place. A few months later, on October 21, 2025, President Trump grants him a full pardon with no explanation, by the way, in the document, at least that I saw. So this looks like a pay-to-play kind of scenario. You've got the meeting that takes place. You've got the money that's transferred to an entity that's owned by the Trump family. I don't think the president has actually divested his interest there necessarily, but I could stand corrected on that. But certainly his family still has interest in it, as does Mr. Witkoff. And then a few months after that, he issues a pardon. So why haven't you appointed a special prosecutor to take a look at this? This looks, on its face, it just looks like a quid pro quo scenario that should be investigated. Why haven't you taken that step?
Well, look, the power to pardon in our Constitution is given to the President of the United States. The Constitution does not require him to provide any explanation for who he chooses to pardon or not pardon, or commute or not commute. And so I very much reject the idea that the premise that this looks like something is a basis for me to appoint a special
Let me
prosecutor.
reclaim my time. The Constitution gives him absolute power to pardon. It does not give power to pardon in exchange for payments, clearly. And a $2.1 billion payment to his family, and we'll set aside the fact that he should have divested from all of those interests anyway, but the fact that he gave that he gets the $2 billion piece, and then a few months later pardons the guy who was guilty of money laundering and providing money to, or helping to finance the money laundering operation for ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the guys we're fighting in Iran right now, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
I don't.
That's not a problem?
Who he chooses to pardon is not a problem, period. And you're saying all these things that are just not true.
What's the legal basis for that statement?
The Constitution of our
The
United States.
Constitution does not give
Yes,
him
it
the
does.
authority to
Yes, it
pardon
does.
in exchange for payments.
What
It
does
does
that
not
mean, in
permit
exchange for
bribery.
payments? You told me nothing about exchange for payments. You said there's.
Well, I just
You
told
just put a bunch of facts
Well,
together. and
that's
then
why
leap
you
to
need a special
conclusion.
prosecutor. Shouldn't somebody clearly you're not going to do it. Shouldn't somebody be appointed, a truly experienced prosecutor, to take a look at this and conduct the investigation? And
look
then
at
if he
why the
reaches the
president did
conclusion that
something
you're
he
right,
has full
that's
authority to
fine.
do?
But if he finds that there's a problem
No,
with what the
you want a
president
special
did or his
prosecutor.
family, then he should move forward with
Time of the
prosecuting that
gentleman
case.
has expired.
I very much disagree.
Mr. Attorney General, I want to thank you for verbally committing to not moving forward with the so-called anti-weaponization fund. I just want to make sure, are you going to issue a new memo in writing, rescinding that May 18th memo?
I'm not committing to putting anything in writing. I'm going to say it
Nothing in
over and
writing.
over again. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of putting something in writing. I'm telling you what we're doing. Meaning, like, why do I need to put something in writing if I'm telling you what we're doing?
Well, you,
trust
it-
but
you,
verify.
you started it, you established it in writing, so it just makes sense to rescind it in writing. I think a lot of Americans, both sides of the aisle, are concerned about it, and it would restore a lot of trust about this issue.
Okay, I'm not committing to doing anything in
You're
writing.
not
No.
committing, okay.
I mean, I'll take it under advisement.
I'm just concerned because you're not under oath, and I want to trust you, and I want to believe you. We all do, but putting it in writing would settle that issue. I have 1 minute left. I still want to ask in writing, but every year the committee reports and the joint explanatory statement accompanying the Appropriations Act direct the department to provide to the Appropriations Committee various reports on various subjects. These reports assist the committee's work and help ensure transparency and accountability. Numerous reports from your department have not yet been sent to us and are now overdue. Are you aware of this issue, and will you please work to deliver these reports to both the House and Senate Appropriations Committees?
I will.
Thank you. I yield back.
Lady yields back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could just follow up on on my colleague Congresswoman Meng's questions. I have here, this is the order on the settlement, the $1.8 billion. And then this is the addendum to the order, which is about tax immunity. And this is a copy of the settlement agreement. And the Associate Attorney General signed this. These two documents were signed by yourself. Now, this is all in writing. This is all, can you tell us here today that you are going to disavow this, that you're going to rescind what you said to Ms. Meng in writing with these efforts? These three documents are in writing. Is that a yes or a no?
So I can't answer that yes or no. Do you want an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so not yes or no. You gave me three documents. The only document I said we're not moving forward on today is the first document identified, which is the anti-weaponization fund. There's still a settlement agreement, and there's still the second document I signed is not an addendum; it's a separate Attorney General order.
Okay. Okay. So, but you're not going to rescind the addendum, not an addendum, the second order?
No,
The only thing you're talking about here, so the blanket immunity is not something that you're going to move back on?
it's not blanket immunity. That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
Okay. United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of actions, appeals, requests for any reliefs. I mean, this is an order from you, but you're not prepared. You are prepared to say that the president and his family will be barred, are immune from. That's a yes.
No, it was not a yes. I had not answered the question. I can't answer if you want me to.
What are you doing with this?
Okay, so there was a settlement, which is one of the documents you
Yes.
showed. Okay. Part of the settlement included the second order that you just held up.
Right.
And that is still, nothing has changed with that. What I said today, what I've said a couple times today, as what we talked about yesterday, is we're not moving forward with the anti-weaponization fund.
Okay, but you are moving forward with this second order.
It's not moving forward. There's a settlement. There's a settlement that the IRS entered into with President Trump and others, his family and his companies. As part of that settlement, as is customary in IRS settlements,
You're an attorney.
there's a separate AG order.
Friends, listen to what is being said here today here. This is really pretty extraordinary, that we are going to forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting the president, his sons, and the Trump organization's current tax filings. Simply put, you just gave the president and his family a tax immunity to the tune of about $100 million.
Not true.
Well, yes, you have, my
No,
friend.
it's not true.
You know, look, and I just want to say this. The Save America paid you nearly $10 million between March of 2024 and December of 2024 to serve as the President Trump's personal defense attorney. My
What did you
God,
say?
don't you not find there's any conflict of interest in what you are doing here as the acting Attorney General of the United States?
I
You are-
didn't, what are you saying is a conflict? I don't understand what you're saying.
Listen.
The fact that I used to have a job and I have a
gonna,
current job?
You know, I've got less time left, but I'm going to reclaim my time because I think you have clearly answered where you're going on what you're doing on this. Is that you've taken one piece and you said, okay, we have had a ton of backlash on this on this $1.8 billion slush fund. However, so we'll not move on that, but as part of the settlement, which you've said, which is this immunity for the president and his family and his business, et cetera, that stands. Thank you for that.
It's not immunity, ma'am. It's
Thank you.
It's a
Thank
promise.
you. It's immunity.
It's not immunity. It's not immunity, okay? So it's not immunity. What it says is like any time the IRS settles with an individual taxpayer or another company, as part of the settlement, it's standard, it's typical to get rid of past ongoing audits. It's not a forward-looking document. It's nothing that gives any sort of immunity in the future to the president or his family or his organizations. And so by you saying that, it's not true.
By you saying what you've said, it is not true. So thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask you, it's a follow-up actually to a letter that I think 57 of my colleagues and I sent. This is about the shootings of Alex Pretty and Ms. Good in Minneapolis. The issue there is the Attorney General for the state, and I think some local prosecutors have said they haven't been able to get access to the evidence related to those shootings so they can make their own independent judgments about whether they should move forward with cases or not. The letter we sent, I don't think has been answered, but are you going to be committing to sharing that information immediately to these state and local prosecutors? Why
No,
not?
that's not what we do in criminal investigations.
I disagree.
Well, I'm right, you're wrong.
Well, let me say this. Your predecessor, Rod Rosenstein, and I, when he was U.S. Attorney in Maryland, I was the state prosecutor. We shared evidence in these kinds of cases all the time, and then we made a determination about which would go forward. But the refusal to share evidence is
No, that's not what I
highly
said. I didn't say I refuse to share evidence, sir. You said, do I?
I mean,
will
immediately.
Right.
you shared
That's what I said
evidence.
no to.
We
There's a
shared. We
process.
shared the evidence immediately,
didn't.
and then made. Yes, we
No,
did.
that's
Yes, we
not.
did.
Look, it's
on to the
the
next
integrity.
thing. You mentioned that it's important to make sure that bad guys don't just get arrested, but they pay back their victims. And that struck me as ironic, given the number of pardons that this president has issued with respect to. I'll come back to you later. Devin Archer, Sioux Nation, $60 million, $43 million in restitution, was wiped away by the pardon. Carlos Watson, $36.7 million was wiped away by the restitution. The Chrisleys, $21 million was wiped away by the restitution. Mr. Schwartz, I don't remember what that number was in his particular case, but over and over again, victims of fraud. So if they personally lost the money, it was taken out of their pockets. Issue a pardon, they don't get paid, they don't get made whole. Will you commit to trying to find a way to make those people whole who've been denied this access to the information?
As I said to you earlier, sir, the Constitution of our United States gives the president the power to pardon. That is not a decision for me to make or you to make. It's a decision for the president of the United States to make.
Could I have just one more question, Mr. Chairman?
Without objection.
With respect to civil liability for these people, which they're not pardoned for, would you, and the Department of Justice can pursue civil remedies in cases that involve
Depends
fraud?
on the case, right. It depends on the case.
Well, if they've been convicted for criminal liability already, certainly they can be convicted or
I mean, it
pursue
depends
civil.
on what the crime they were convicted of.
Well, I just read them off to you. They were fraud convictions.
You didn't read off the crimes. No, I mean, it just depends. I appreciate what you're saying, and you're right that a pardon doesn't cover civil
Will
liability.
you pursue civil liability in these cases
I'm not
where
going
these
to commit
people
to
have been
pursuing
left?
civil liability right here, no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the second round. I did want to explain what I held up here.
Okay.
For the viewing public, what you do as a member of Congress is you go in, you release your phone, you release anything that would have electronics, and you go in and you attempt to capture some redacted material. So I took a look at this email from Jack Goldberger, Wednesday, October 14th, 2009. The subject is Trump. It is to Jeffrey Epstein. And the language here that is not redacted reads, spoke to Alan Garten, Trump's attorney. Garten arranged a 20-minute phone conference with Trump and Brad in lieu of a deposition. Following was discussed. The blacked out box is what was discussed, a regurgitation of that. I'll read to you what I was able to see underneath. It's, as I say, it's shorthanded, it's clipped as a regurgitation of what took place. J.E. never expelled from Mar-a-Lago. No, he was not a member, may have been a guest, never asked to leave. Mark Epstein said Trump on J.E. plane. Is that true? Answer, I've been on a lot of planes, may have been on his plane, no young girls on plane. What do you know about allegations against J.E.? Only what I read in the paper. Trump ever at J.E. house? I may have been there with my wife. Any young girls there? No, may have been some children of guests, but that's it. Trump specifically asked Garden to advise us of the interview. Brad had also talked to manager of Mar-a-Lago, Bert Lemke. Lemke confirmed J.E. never asked to leave Mar-a-Lago. I say that to say what a silly exercise that members of Congress have to go through to find out what actual conversations were taking place with the president in lieu of a deposition. This has nothing to do with redacting victims' names. My only point, I don't have a question for you. My only point is you are gravely conflicted. It is so obvious you are gravely conflicted. These survivors deserve prosecutions. They deserved them years ago, and now it's in your lap, as Pam Bondi told us. They need an independent prosecutor. I hope you will do that.
So if I may briefly respond. The law, the Epstein Transparency Act requires us to redact victims. We also have other laws that apply that require us to apply other redactions. That's not my law, that's your law. And what was just read, the reason why that was redacted is because that's a privileged communication between counsel. So the fact that it was read is fine, but that wasn't redacted because there were victims' names. That was redacted for another purpose, which we're legally obligated to do.
I advise you to take a look at the Epstein Transparency Law.